In the kingdom of Asilon, once the world had collapsed, a war for power broke out. Princess Selina, who has fallen to the throne, is afraid to stand up to her powerful brother, who is fighting against the forces of dark magic. Chaklan's foe gave him strength, and at the same time it made him a cruel and ruthless ruler, alienating him from his homeland and people. Selina, realizing that her brother's forces can destroy not only her homeland, but also the future kingdom, begins to gather loyal allies. They are turning to powerful figures who have always stood at the mercy of Asilon, and the Vinyanians who want to return their honor. Each of them has a powerful history, but all of them unite for one goal: to bring peace and justice to the kingdom. In the midst of battles and conflict, where the fire of war devours towns and villages, Asilon may become more distant. Selina, along with her army of loyal and decisive warriors, is ready to cry out to her brothers, whose burning throne is consuming the entire land. Strength, courage and faith in justice will become the head armor of the princess. This struggle will become not just a war for the throne, but a battle for the very heart and soul of the kingdom of Asilon. Selina managed to catch up on a hard workout. Their faithful allies were the commander of the Lyces, Gregor, who was famous for his wisdom and unstinting devotion to justice, and the mysterious enchantress Eliana, an exile from another kingdom, who wielded the magic of light. Each of them had their own motives for participating in this war, but all of them shared the desire to end the dark tyranny that Selene's brother brought. From the first days of the war, Selina realized that her brother, now known as the Dark King, had become not just an enemy, but the essence of unclean magic that worked against his face and heart. Under its influx, many places and villages were transformed into gloomy ruins, inhabited by creatures of the night and magical fears. Selina planned to launch an offensive, attacking one of the Dark King's outposts. They knew that this place was of strategic importance. There were military units there, which were part of the royal guard. Gregor and Eliana developed a plan for the attack, and the princess attacked the battlefield in order to especially thwart the attack and exhaust their warriors. Their determination inspired the Skin Soldier, and their presence became a symbol of hope in the bright future. At the end of the battle, after a month of hiding behind the darkness, Selina and her husband made their way to the warden's camp. Eliana created a dry light that protected them from dark magic. Gregor's kings were the first to enter the battle, taking out the guards one by one to give Selina access to her brother's dark throne. However, they were attacked by enemies. They were attacked by dark beings, creatures of shadow, like the Dark King himself. Let's bake it, and a lot of warrior princesses gave up their lives, and they managed to collect some of their captives. Among them was the old guard of the king, who conveyed to Selina an important secret: the only way to reduce the power of the Dark King is an ancient artifact known as the Light of the Eternal Crescent. However, this artifact was deeply in the possession of the Lost Fox, who was famous for his life, who, having set foot on his earth, did not return alive. Knowing that the artifact is the only hope of stealing the kingdom, Selina plans to destroy the Light of the Eternal Crescent. Together with Gregor, Eliana and the resolve of their trusted allies, they are preparing for the most dangerous part of the journey, which will lead through the darkness of the shielded forest to the truth, which may be the key to victory. Or her death. The journey to the Forbidden Forest turned out to be even more dangerous than Selina and her allies could have imagined. The forest was thick and dark, and an ominous silence permeated the air, broken from time to time by distant, eerie sounds. Gregor walked ahead, sword at the ready, while Eliana constantly used light spells to ward off the shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. According to legend, the light of the eternal flame is guarded by spirits who turn their victims into guardians of the forest, dooming them to eternal wandering in darkness. After a few days of the journey, the heroes realized that they were not alone. Something invisible was watching them from behind the trees, and sometimes even whispered in their ear unknown words filled with ancient magic. Selina thought she could hear the voices of Asilon's long-dead warriors, as if urging her to abandon her journey. One evening, when the squad stopped for the night, a shadow approached them from the forest, which gradually took the form of a young girl. She was dressed in ancient clothing and held a crystal sphere in her hands that glowed with a soft light. It was a spirit protector of the forest, who called herself Alice. She revealed that she herself was once a princess who came for the light of the eternal flame, but she could not overcome all the trials and is now one of its eternal guardians. Alice warned them that only those willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of the kingdom would be able to reach the artifact, but even such a sacrifice might be in vain if the purity of their hearts could not withstand the trials of the forest. Only a true heir to the throne, free from the darkness, will be able to take the artifact, she said as she looked at Selina. With each word, Selina felt her heart clench in fear, but she was determined and ready to see it through, even if it meant death. Thanks to Alice's help, the squad was approaching the depths of the forest, where the light of the eternal flame is hidden. Finally, they reached an ancient sanctuary surrounded by magical symbols. As Selina stepped onto the stone floor, the sanctuary came to life, darkness thickened around her, forming giant figures of evil spirits ready to test her courage and willingness to sacrifice herself. While battling the spirits, Selina saw a vision, her brother standing on a throne, ordering the destruction of her allies and the abandonment of her homeland. Selina's heart sank in pain, but she refused to give in to despair. At that moment, Alice exclaimed, "Your heart is full of love for your people and courage. Don't let the darkness break you." After these words, the princess felt an incredible strength in herself, which she did not have before. In the end, she managed to overcome the ordeal and reach the artifact. The light of the eternal flame lit up with a bright glow, absorbing the shadows and healing everything around. The truth was revealed to Selina. The light of the eternal flame had the power to heal not only the darkness around, but also the hearts of those who were gripped by malice. Armed with the artifact and her unwavering faith, Selina returns to Asilon to face her brother and end his dark reign. She sets out not to destroy him, but to save him from the power that captured his soul. Returning to the kingdom of Asilon with the artifact of the light of the eternal crescent, Selina felt the heaviness and strength that lay in her hands. This mission was no longer simply a struggle for the throne. She began to test the strength of spirit and the depth of love for her native land and people. Approaching the capital, the princess was afraid that the place had changed in the dark, where fear and evil settled in the hearts of people. His brother, the Dark King, has mastered for himself a pen of magical warriors, the essence of the night, who he created with the help of black magic. He knew that Selina was coming, and ordered his servants to prepare for the rest of the battle. The princess, together with her allies, the powerful figure Gregor, the mysterious enchantress Eliana and the formidable warriors, broke through the first lines of the Dark King's henchmen. The struggle was baked, but the light of the artifact that was glowing in Selina's hands was little withered by the strength that the shadows stirred up. Their allies sensed the strength and hope that awoke in their hearts when they stood beside her. Vrashti rest, the stench reached the throne room, and the Dark King looked out for his sister. His standing, shrouded in darkness, seemed great and invincible, and his eyes were burning with hatred and pride. When they looked at each other, Selina noticed how her heart was bursting. Standing in front of her was no less an enemy, or even a brother, whom she loved. "Have you come to please me, sister?" Drinking wine coldly. "This voice is fierce and ignorant. I came to give you the kingdom out of the dark, which I myself have robbed," Selina said, holding the artifact above her head. The light of the eternal crescent began to glow even more brightly, and it filled the throne room, overcoming the darkness where her brother had left. The Dark King has realized how magical power has been withdrawn and begins to weaken under the influx of light. He rushed at Selina, trying to hold the artifact, but then releasing the artifact, which covered the whole hall. A vision appeared before Selina's eyes, the image of her brother, still young, kind and faithful, as he had been before, when he had become engrossed in dark magic. Under the influx of this vision and light, the artifact of the Dark King froze. His accusation made it clear, and it seemed that he had recognized his sister. "Selina," he whispered quietly, turning back to himself. Even though it was dark, as it was holding him in its grip, it didn't let him go so easily. With the remaining strength, he tried to recapture himself again, but the light of the artifact completely dawned on him, knowing the remaining remnants of the evil that had filled his soul. At that moment, the Dark King fell, escaped from the curse, and his darkness blossomed. Selina managed to turn her brother back, but his life was dying out. Vin chuckled and took his sister's hand. "You lied to me, and perhaps the whole kingdom. Farewell, Selino." His image was destroyed by the world, depriving the princess of the throne, and her allies. Asilon escaped from the darkness. Princess Selina became a symbol of justice to the world, ruling the kingdom with wisdom and mercy. After defeating the Dark King, peace and tranquility returned to the kingdom of Asilon, which last year did not let Selina go. All the wounds of the kingdom, filled with dark magic, had not yet burned, and the reserves of their damned brother were still guessing about themselves. The wise warriors and most trusted allies of Selene realized that the trouble had not passed, and at the depths of the throne, in the forgotten royal dungeons, there were hidden chambers that could shake the kingdom again. One night, while Selina was looking at the old parchments, Eliana, her old friend and enchantress, came before her. Vaughn was holding in her hands a lighted seal with a signet, which, as if she had hardened, having been sent from a distant land, where magic had hitherto emerged in its first form. "This is the key to ancient magic," Eliana whispered. "You can give us evidence that they are behind the centuries of darkness. I have learned about Chervonazoria, a mysterious artifact that will reveal the connection between the light and the dark in the deepest corners of the soul. Behind the legend, the one who can enslave him, the power is taken away not only to overcome the darkness, but also to revive everything that was weakened by it. Protein was also very unsafe and took victims." The princess wondered, "Why are you pushing hard? How can you reveal the darkness that her brothers wanted to tell?" But the thought of that little order after death did not deprive her of peace. Selina gathered her allies, Gregor, Eliana and others, to go on a new journey, in search of Chervonazoria. Their paths ran through the edges of deserted plains, where behind the legend one could recognize the ruined temples of ancient magicians. But the stench was not the only one who learned about the artifact. There were rumors that a new force had broken through, the shadowy sect, which lived in the ruins in the wake of Asilon, and which had conquered the victorious state of Chervonazoria, in order to establish a new order. The journey was not safe and full of mysteries, but Selina realized that her chance not only to save the kingdom, but also to find reconciliation with her lot would pass.